Today on What's Next.
She's not fighting it, she's cooperating with it and making the best of making the best of every day.
The first stage of the fragile years is your parent has an event.
I think it's helped to keep me going, helped to keep me healthy. I don't plan on quitting.
Hello and welcome to What's Next. This is the show that's dedicated to reminding you that it is never too late to have a What's Next in your life. And yes, you can come back from whatever life happens to throw your way. And I mean, let's face it, folks, life is pretty good at throwing curveballs. There are constant challenges, and while we may not be able to do everything the way that we've always done it, the good news is we can adapt, we can accommodate, we can figure out a way to keep moving forward. So let's move forward with three folks who know a good bit about the power and importance of adaptability. Amy Sweezy, Cecily Wilson, and Bill Schaefer. And Bill, let's start with you because I know you've got a great story to share about a place that helps men and women individually and also in couples find the joy in the midst of hard times.
You know, Mark, I have to admit I had a very unexpected experience. I was invited to an outing for people with dementia and their caregivers, and the most interesting thing happened. When I walked in, they were all dancing. I could not tell the difference. I couldn't label sick or healthy. I just saw them all as people, as equals. And in that instant, I realized how unfair it is to categorize people by what they have instead of who they are. Check this out. Sometimes the simplest thing, a song, a smile, a dance, can mean everything. When you have dementia, there aren't many places to go, but caregivers and loved ones can find acceptance at a place called Our Moment Café. No judgment, no expectations, just dignity and human kindness for those suffering from a most dehumanizing disease.
This is special. This is an unbelievable place. When we found it, we decided this is it. Yeah.
Pat and Ray are regulars at Our Moment Cafe. He is her caregiver.
If I didn't have him, I'd be lost, but yeah.
Ray has dementia and she has cancer, but somehow she also has the brightest smile in the room.
One of the keys with everybody here is that they have the ability to laugh and enjoy. I mean, they really do.
At 100 years old, Marguerite Bacon has dementia. A century of memories have faded away, but she always remembers to live in the moment, where every day with her daughter and her friends is a special experience.
On Tuesday, she played chair volleyball, and she hit the ball every time it came to her.
Really?
Yeah.
I forgot. This is fun. This is living.
It's living? What is living?
Being with other people.
And the Our Moment Cafe allows her to do that, gives her a place to go, a place that offers her a whole different way of facing her dementia.
She's not fighting it, she's cooperating with it and making the best of and making the best of every day.
Meetups like this are now taking place all over the country. This Our Moment Cafe in the Villages, Florida, was started by a couple who saw a need and stepped up to try to fulfill it, Dick Boyden and Joan Bender.
This was something that most people would never do. But we're trained, we're able, we're qualified.
We're both certified dementia practitioners and have been for, 9, 10 years?
So the response was overwhelming.
They've been in demand ever since as one of few opportunities to combat the isolation and the loneliness that so often confront not just the person, but their caregiver too.
We provide a safe and supportive atmosphere where they can have fun, whether it's interactive activities or just sitting down and having a cookie and talking with each other. The key here is not entertainment, it's engagement.
Participation.
Because the often do not get that opportunity to engage with each other or engage with other people.
You know, that program, Our Moment Cafe, is so simple, yet it offers so much. Leave your disease at the door and come on in. You know, dementia is so dehumanizing. We keep them away from society, away from friends. We don't talk to them, check on them. But here, they're just themselves, and the joy sure came shining through. So what stood out to you, Cecily, about that story?
That they kept moving. That's what I just smiled the entire time watching this, is that she just kept moving no matter what the issue was. And that really is what life is, being around people, just as she said. That's living, and I'm so happy to see that she keeps moving and having that moment in time.
You know, I love the name, Bill, because they are living in the moment, and even people in the most advanced stages of dementia have that ability to enjoy the moment. And, you know, sadly, as a culture, we have stigmatized this disease so much. We've made most of the people who have it so afraid of being wrong, so afraid of being embarrassed, that they simply withdraw. And this is a great example that people with dementia, you know, still have the ability to engage and have fun and live a happy life with a quality of life that they deserve.
The number one reason people get institutionalized is pride.
Welcome back to What's Next. I'm Amy Sweezy. Now, at Growing Bolder, we do not deny the realities of aging. Listen, my back hurts. I need my readers in order to read. We just encourage all of us to not let those limitations limit the ways that we see our lives. And that does include how we prepare for the end of our lives. Now, many of us have aging parents, and we're in caretaking roles with them. Amy O'Rourke is an elder care veteran. She's been a leader in the industry for about 40 years as a frontline caregiver, and has authored the book, The Fragile Years: Proven Strategies for the Care of Aging Loved Ones. So what are the fragile years? Here's Amy.
The first stage of the fragile years is your parent has an event. Now, maybe they have a fender bender, maybe they run a stop sign, maybe they eat some expired food in the fridge, maybe they start needing a walker but they're not using it. There's an event, and that's the beginning. And then the other stage that I love, and it's recognizable, is the reminiscing stage. They're sharing, they're communicating, they're telling stories of their high school, they're talking about the guys they were in the war with, they're sharing the story of your birth, and it's a stage, and they're reviewing their life. They're going through and processing everything that happened in their life, and then they start needing help. And I've said this, and the number one reason people get institutionalized is pride. Not accepting help when you need it will cause you to be institutionalized because you've stretched yourself beyond which is physically reasonable. You know, the guy that goes up the ladder to fix his roof and he's 90 and he falls off the ladder. That's an extreme example, but I watched my dad accept help from me when he grabbed my arm. And that told me, and it taught me as a daughter, oh, this is how it goes. He put his pride down and he let me help him walk. So everybody goes through that stage where they need help, and then finding that soft place to land, whether it's at home with full-time help, whether it's in a community. And then the last stage, I call it end of life. People think end of life, oh, it's hospice and you're actively dying. End of life is really like a year of, you know, I'm on my way out, but it's gradual. It's soft and it's gentle, and the meals become shorter, sleep becomes longer, and they get a look in their eyes where they're there, but they're not there. but your presence is felt. And having that emotional presence where you're there and you're comforting them just by your presence helps them leave the world in a really gentle, spiritual way. It's quite lovely.
Some really great and important pointers from Amy O'Rourke about what to look for and what to plan for as our parents age. Now, we know that things change, and sometimes when we try to fight those changes, it just makes things worse. So I'll open it up to the group now. What do you guys think? Any takeaways? Mark, both your mom and your dad had Alzheimer's. So can you share a little bit about your experience with your parents?
Well, first of all, Amy O'Rourke is spot on once again. You know, how awesome is she? We all need to know what to expect, because if we are fortunate enough to live long enough, you know, this is an experience that we will all face, not just individually, but also as families. And yes, pride and confusion get in the way. My mother drove too long. Nobody wants to give up their keys. You know, she had those fender benders. She lived alone too long. You know, pride gets in the way. We don't know how to talk to our parents. We don't know how to admit that we can no longer do what we used to. So, you know, this is an important message that we all need to understand.
You know, I think one of the hardest parts is we're all raised to be fixers. You know, if there's a problem, you got to jump in and fix it. And if we can't fix it, we feel like we have failed. So I think one of the things I got from Amy is acceptance. To understand where we are, where our parents are, what, you know, what's going on around us. And then, Mark, you've said this a million times, is take the situation that we're in and don't try to fix it all the time. Just try to make the best out of it, because really that's the best we can hope for.
Yeah, I've outlived all my ancestors, and I owe it to swimming.
Welcome back. I'm Bill Schaefer, and this is What's Next. And today we're shining the spotlight on adaptability, our ability to do what we love, to experience joy and live life to the fullest for as long as possible. And we're about to find out that can be a very long time. You know, most athletes have very short careers. Unless you're Tom Brady or legendary swimmer Mark Middleton, you're probably retired by the age of 40. But we found a mind-blowing group of athletes in their 80s or 90s and more still doing it and still loving it. They were part of the National Senior Games, and when you see these people, understand that they represent what's possible for us all if we can just look for ways to keep active. Montana's Charlotte Sandel is 100 years old, and she believes swimming is a big part of the reason why.
That I made it this far? Good, yeah. Yeah, I've outlived all my ancestors, and I owe it to swimming, I'm sure.
On your mark. Sit.
Roy Englert of Springfield, Virginia is another athlete who's enjoyed competing at every National Senior Games. Here he is running the 400 meters in the 100-year-old age group. And he believes staying active keeps him alive, even though when he first started competing, everyone thought he was crazy.
This was, 40 years ago now, you know. I was about 60. And people said, what in the world are you doing? My mother said, you're too old to run. You know, this was 40 years ago. The camaraderie and the competition. That's a lot of fun. And of course, the older I get, the fewer competitors I have.
That brings us to the oldest competitor at the Games, North Carolina's Lindsay Tice, 103, still playing golf and still doing it pretty well. But why at 103 does he keep playing?
I think it's helped to keep me going, helped to keep me healthy, as long as I can hold a stick. Really, I don't plan on quitting.
103 years old, and he has no plans to stop. You know, when we were growing up, there weren't any 80, 90, 100-year-old athletes out there, were there? I don't remember any. So what does that mean? What does that say? What did you think of that? Let's start with Sess.
I'm just amazed every time I see a story like this, because I'm thinking, this party for me is just getting started. It's just getting started.
And then you never stop. You know, Bill, what we saw, what you just showed us really is what they can do. That's the tip of the iceberg. The iceberg itself is what they had to overcome in order to keep doing it. Folks, you know, Bill said this earlier, don't dismiss this as simply examples of genetically blessed individuals. These are ordinary people who have simply refused to let life put them on the couch and then keep them there. Amy, what do you think?
Yeah, I am so guilty of that because that's what's in my brain. Oh, there's something special about them. That's why they can do this. They're not like me, who doesn't really have a lot of athletic prowess to begin with, you know? But you're right, these are just normal, everyday people. And I don't know, perhaps my sister and I could actually compete together in some doubles thing at the senior games.
You can.
Oh my God.
We'll see.
As Amy noted just a short while ago, you know, at Growing Bolder, we don't ignore the challenges of aging. They are very, very real. But we do work to overcome them when possible and to adapt to them whenever necessary. And that's why I like this week's bold social clip from a guy by the name of Jordan Peterson. He is a well-known clinical psychologist. He's an author who says that recognizing that life in general is filled with challenges and understanding that we can overcome them is a critical life skill.
Life is brutally difficult and sometimes unbearably brutally difficult. And so it's good to get that right out on the table to begin with. Say, well, you're miserable, you have your reasons. And they might be deep reasons. But if you let the misery demoralize you and make you bitter and cynical and cowardly and make you withdraw, then first of all, that's a failure in the highest sense on your part, and all it's going to do is make everything worse. And then you might think, well, what do you have to respond to that catastrophe and challenge? And the answer is, terrible as things are, there's a lot more to you than you can possibly imagine. And that if you face those things forthrightly and with some faith and courage, then you can have the adventure of your life and prevail even over catastrophe.
Welcome back to What's Next. I'm Cecily Wilson. Are you one of the over 1 million Growing Bolder followers on Facebook? I hope so. What about over on Instagram or Twitter or Pinterest, TikTok? We've got great content on all these platforms, and I hope you'll check it out. You'll find great memes, video stories, and engaging questions that make you think, like this one. What's something you'd do if age wasn't an issue? Because it really isn't. Head on over to Facebook right now and let us know what your answer is. So, guys, I'm going to ask you, is there something you haven't tried because consciously or unconsciously you think, I'm a little too old for that?
Now, this is hard for me because I think that I started reading from the Book of Boulder early enough in life that as I entered now this second half of my life, I feel like age is no object. So I just, now athleticism is a problem, or, talent might be a problem, or, number of other things. But yeah, I don't think I'm too old for anything. Bill, what about you?
I had a similar thought to you, Amy, because the first thing I was going to say is I would jump back on the ice and get back to playing hockey, but that may not be an age issue, that's a joint issue. Man, I'll skate around, I don't feel it, but for the next 2 weeks I can't even step off a curb. So I hesitate to do that. It makes me pull back, and maybe that's exactly the wrong way to face things by just giving into it. Maybe I should push forward and try to do more. So Cess, what do you think?
I think I twerk.
Oh, maybe we are too old for some things.
Yeah, we are too old. No, but seriously, I would dance. I would be a ballerina dancer. Like, I loved ballet when I was younger, and then I just stopped. I would have amazing legs and just the beauty of that art form. I would definitely be the oldest ballerina on the stage.
It's not too late for that, Cecily. And, have I stopped doing anything because of age? I'm with you guys. Honestly, no. Maybe subconsciously I've stopped wanting to try something because, the potential for injury isn't worth it. But if there's something I want to do, I am up for it, folks. Because we all have voices inside our head telling us that we can't do something because we're too old. It's too late. And yet every day there are examples that change the boundaries of possibility. I mean, we've seen several of them today. We can play golf at 103, we can swim, and we can run into our 100s. Now, we might not be able to do it the way we did decades ago, but we can do a version of almost anything that allows us to experience the same kind of fun, the challenge, the camaraderie. The key is to change ourselves when we can't change the situation. Ultimately, that is what Growing Bolder is all about, folks. It's about the pivot. It's about the comeback. It's about the challenge. It's about the adaptation and the accommodation that always has us ready for what's next. We'll see you next time.